Welcome to Wander Mode, a podcast that wanders through topics such as entrepreneurship, traveling, and mamahood. As a teacher turned entrepreneur and a mama to one, I am sharing my tips and tricks to maintain harmony in a multifaceted life. Let's wander. I am your host, Julie Thomas, and today's episode is an introduction to the Wander Mode podcast. So, why this concept of seeking harmony? Every one of us is a multifaceted individual, right? If you were to look up the word multifaceted, you will find that it means having many different parts or sides. You might have a career side, a relational side, a passion side, and much more. Even though these facets all lead back to one source, you, it can sometimes seem impossible to find harmony among the aspects that make us us. You find yourself giving 100% in one area of your life, but then finding yourself needing to increase effort in others. And I certainly know I am not speaking only for myself when I say that this leads to major feelings of disappointment or feeling like a failure. Finding harmony is challenging, but it is also possible. And I use the word harmony intentionally. Recently, on a road trip up to one of our rentals, I was listening to the Goal Digger podcast. This is by host Jenna Kutcher. She interviewed a gal named Tina Wells, who is author of The Elevation Approach. Both women pursue a work-life harmony rather than balance. They discuss that balance means you constantly do enough within each facet of your life to maintain an equal amount in all of the parts. For example, if I am working more today, I must also play more today in order to maintain an equal amount on both sides. So if we use that playground analogy, the teeter-totter ends up falling on one side or the other if I don't do an equal amount of both. 8 hours of work, 8 hours of play. I think instead, our focus needs to be on getting these facets of ourselves to work harmoniously. For example, if I want to play all day tomorrow, how can I use my time efficiently today to accomplish tasks that set me up for success? I'm not necessarily doing more of anything, but rather I'm shifting effort from one component to the next in order to still achieve the things that I want. Think of it like parts of a band, right? You're not trying to seek an equal amount in which every single instrument plays the same amount, but rather what parts does it make sense to have each instrument play together in order to bring about the best sound. Now, this would definitely not apply if I was the one playing the instrument, but people who are actually talented in playing instruments can actually have beautiful blends. This concept of harmony resonated with me as my life in the last few years would definitely not be described as harmonious and certainly lacked balance. My life professionally was colliding with my personal life, and I began to wander down the road of what ifs, which, as you know, when you start going down a road of what ifs, it's very hard to get off of that track. What if I had a different job? What if I could prioritize the things I wanted to without feeling guilty? What if I pursued a dream that required giving up a part of my identity? What would that mean for my relationships with different people? I took a deep dive approach to assess my unique facets and realized that something needed to give. In this deep dive, it led me to analyze 3 core facets of my life that were not harmonizing. Those 3 facets were my life as a professional, my life as a traveler, and my life as a mom. In today's episode, I'm just going to give you a brief overview of each of these 3 things, and we'll be exploring these topics more as I create additional podcasts. The first facet of my life is as a professional. I graduated from college in 2007, and I became a teacher in a Minneapolis suburban middle school. I loved teaching, and I actually held the same position in the same school district for 16 years. I was fortunate to experience exceptional administration, a supportive school board, a highly functional teaching team, and an engaged community. It was genuinely like the magical unicorn experience of teaching. And over my teaching career, I earned the honor of Teacher of the Year at my school. I was a candidate for the Minnesota Teacher of the Year. I placed myself in many leadership roles by presenting at teaching conferences and participating in our local technology integration learning team. I was considered an innovator in my school district as I constantly sought to improve my teaching practices and curriculum. I would say that teaching was my primary identifier and where I focused most of my time and energy. When others were taking summers off, I was buckling down, and I used the surplus time to prepare for the following school year. I was and will always continue to be proud of my title as teacher. When I told others I was a teacher, it was almost always followed by, "Wow, you're a saint. I could never be a teacher." Teaching is definitely one of those jobs that defines the type of person that you are. Other people determine that you love kids, you're patient, you sacrifice, you're calm, you're passionate about your subject area. My profession defined me as a valued individual, going as far as, even in COVID, to be considered an essential employee. I wore the badge of teaching with honor. However, this profession that I loved, I began to realize was one of the reasons that I lacked harmony in my life. The other facet of my life that was leading to this lack of harmony was my passion for travel. My husband and I have been to over 20 plus countries, and the list is expanding, hopefully. Growing up, I actually didn't think much about traveling. My family mostly traveled via a camper to Idaho to visit my uncle's ranch. Road trips through Washington, Oregon, and Idaho were times of connection and making memories. For instance, there was this one trip we took where we arrived at an adventure park, kind of a theme park meets water park. And I had the fan blowing on my neck all night and woke up the next morning with a stiff neck and couldn't even turn it. So I spent the entire day in the camper while my family enjoyed this time at the adventure park. And another distinct memory from these road trips was when my Uncle Paul told me that he would make a road apple necklace for me someday. You can only imagine my disappointment when I realized that a road apple was a piece of dried horse poop from the side of the road. I did not know at the time that these trips would build the foundation for my passion for travel. And when Ben and I met at the University of Montana in Missoula, we ended up loving spending weekends and school breaks driving to new places in Montana or other surrounding states. The travel bug bit us hard, and we never looked back. Initially, trips kind of happened sporadically when we had the airline miles or the ability for me to meet Ben on a work trip abroad. He actually traveled a lot for work in our first few years of marriage because of the nature of his career. And fortunately for us, he accrued miles. And his company also paid me to join him when he was away on extended trips that were like 2 weeks or longer. But after a time, we became hyper-focused on dedicating time, money, resources to experiencing travel at a faster paced level. And so we always ensured that we had trips planned at least a year in advance. We eventually purchased a map and pens, and this kind of became a physical way on our wall at home to commemorate our adventures together. Although traveling brought about new experiences and lots of positive energy, it also negatively impacted my ability to live a harmonious life. And as I said, in future podcast episodes, we'll explore why this is and kind of what have I learned along the way about how to make it more harmonious. The third facet of my life that was running into my life as a professional and life as a traveler is being a mama. And this is definitely the most important facet of my life. In 2020, I gave birth to our daughter, Amelia. Yes, we named her after Amelia Earhart for her adventurous spirit. So fitting considering our passion for travel. And what a joy it has been to learn about motherhood through like the changes of a little human being. Ben and I have taken the last few years to become more solid in our parenting roles and discovering how to support one another. But motherhood was definitely an instigator for a deep dive into how to gain a more harmonious life. I desired to be present with her, but I found myself mentally consumed by all of my to-dos, the stresses at work, and I was drowning in my responsibilities for our business as a side hustle. And I thought to myself, what would I tell her if she came to me with this conundrum? And after asking myself that question, I had my answer. I needed to seek harmony. So what now? I am not alone on my journey to harmonious living. I am not on my own in feeling like there isn't enough time in the day to do all the different aspects that make me me. I also believe in the power of experiencing life as a community. So I am using my voice in this podcast to call those wanting to wander with me. I am going to strive to keep the podcast to a manageable bite of information over the course of 10 to 20 digestible minutes. I have discovered, and I'm going to continue to discover, tips and tricks that have helped me achieve my goal, and I'm sharing them with you through this medium. I would like to leave you today with an excerpt from Prayers of Honoring by Pixie Lighthorse. It's called Honoring Community. Thank you for the ones who find their way to our sides, our brothers, sisters, tribes, and clans. Thank you for the willingness to take care of one another and value our contributions as a whole. Help us put the good of the whole before the good of the few. We need your support to expand as we take the next steps. Ease our fears and teach us to gather in a circle of equals. Remind us that a circle has no beginning and no end. Nature contains innumerable examples of the beauty of co-leading and the sacred geometry of many parts working as one. If you found your way to my side today, I welcome you to join me as I attempt to create a community of equals in which we share our fears, value the contributions of others, and revel in the beauty of many parts working as one. If you wandered to this point in the episode, thank you for listening to the Wander Mode podcast. Please leave a review and subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at WanderModeCo. Reach me by email at julie@wandermode.co. Until next time, wander on.